Good evening, everybody. Brian Neubert here from goldenblack.com, live in the bowels of Gainbridge Fieldhouse here in downtown Indianapolis, following Purdue's 92-84 win over number one Arizona. Purdue's first win over a number one team since the year 2000 against Arizona in Indianapolis. So this is a funny game that has a funny way of repeating itself. But this is your goldenblack.com rap video. It's brought to you by our friends at the Purdue Club Hotel. Once again, we thank them very much for their continued support as always. I always say I want to make these quick, but downtown Indianapolis traffic right now is probably no picnic, so there's probably not a whole lot of sense in me making this quick, so buckle up. I say that when I have nothing to talk about. I have taken no notes. I have not prepared one bit other than to say that obviously, this was sort of the Fletcher lawyer game, and I think that as good as Braden Smith and Ross-Ade both were, this wasn't a classic Ade game, but he was still really good, and you never take him for granted. This was a great game for Braden Smith, but this was the Fletcher lawyer game. I think what he did in terms of ushering Purdue through the early portions of this game was one of the big differences in this game. I think his shot making really changed the complexion of how Arizona probably had to defend Purdue. I think that his ability to get to the basket, he is, strangely, people look at him and they assume that bigger, more physical guys are going to give him a real hard time, but the results do not say that. The results say that he is better when he is being guarded and defended. Those are obviously synonymous. By bigger, stronger, more athletic, aggressive people. Because when they play up on him, he is crafty enough, he is just quick enough, he's just smart enough and clever enough. Clever is the perfect word. Very rarely do I have the perfect word, but clever is the perfect word. He is clever enough to just drive past those guys, get in the lane, and then he's adaptable enough and he's creative enough to be able to get shots up, make the right pass sometime, but more often than not just get shots up. He can make those runners. He made a couple of big-time runners in this game, but your worst-case scenario in that situation is, once again, you get the ball up on the rim and you have number 15 standing at the rim, and there's probably like a 60% chance he's going to get the offensive rebound. But he made those shots in this game. There were no offensive rebounds for Ross-Ade to gobble up. But Lawyer was awesome in this game. 11 of 18 from the floor, 5 of 9 from 3, 27 points, 3 assists, and the stat that's easy to overlook here is the 4 steals. I thought Purdue in the first half really set a possessions tone in this game. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but Trey Kaufman-Renn had 5 offensive rebounds. Fletcher Lawyer had like 4 steals all in the first half, and that's 9 possessions right there. Now, I can't tell you off the top of my head what all became of all of those possessions, but that's still 9 more possessions. 4 that were taken away from Arizona via turnover, 5 that were extended via offensive rebound, and that's part of Purdue's model, is just out-possessioning you. And I thought they did a good job of that, and I thought they just did a good job kind of getting going offensively. Obviously making shots always is helpful, and both Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer really shot the hell out of the ball. And I think that put Purdue in a position where Ross-Ade and to a little bit of a lesser extent Braden Smith could kind of take them home and just get a really big win. I think you also have to mention, Lance Jones goes 0 for 5 to start from 3. Wasn't really his night in that regard. And then he makes the biggest one of the game. And I think, if I recall correctly, that came after. I would look at my notes to tell you what happened, but this is what they look like. So I'm not telling you anything off of this. But I think that Jones' three-pointer there at the end, which was arguably the biggest shot of the game, I think that came after Purdue had gone 6 minutes without a field goal. they had kind of run into a little bit of a dry spell there after Arizona went to that zone. Who would have expected Zona to go zone? That's right. But Purdue obviously didn't, because Arizona never did. It's not something they did, apparently, prior to this game. So that took Purdue some settling in. I do think during that stretch, it looks like an eyesore that you didn't score, you didn't get field goals during that stretch, but I did think you got the ball to Ade, and I think he got some shots that are good shots for him that he just missed. So it's not like Purdue just fumbled everything when Arizona went to his own. I didn't think it really threw Purdue off all that much. I think, Arizona did go to some backcourt pressure, and for the first time this season, I thought that did flummox Purdue a little bit. I think there was that one possession where Zach Edey ended up having to run down the ball in the corner and then ended up throwing it away. It's not really his game to have to make passes from that spot on the floor. I think that possession was kind of thrown out of whack by the initial pressure. There was a 10-second call on Braden Smith, too, where I thought Braden Smith was figuring they were going to foul him, because I think it was getting to that point in the game where, that might have been something Arizona was going to go to early on. But I'm just basically reciting the game to you right now. I just think Fletcher was the difference in this game. The possessions were the difference in the game. Taking the fight to a great rebounding team was part of it. Purdue out-rebounds them 32-26, and again, there weren't a whole lot of misses in this game. When Purdue shoots 54% and Arizona shoots 52%, I think Trey Kaufman-Run was a big part of this. His offensive rebounding. Purdue gets 11 offensive rebounds. They outscore Arizona 11-10 on second chance points. That was going to be a big key to this game, based on the metrics coming in. Both of these teams are elite offensive rebounding teams, and Arizona has the size and physicality to really be a problem on the glass, and they were. But Purdue is better, and I think that Arizona is really good. I think that's a really important point to make here. All five of their guys who start are really good players. You got the best of Caleb Love. I don't know if there's been a more hot and cold player in college basketball the last couple of years than Caleb Love. You got the best of him tonight. You weathered it. He gets 29, and you win anyway. And I think this was – Purdue's played an unbelievable non-conference schedule here. And I think this was the best team they've played. And I'm not sure it's close. I think this Arizona team is better than Marquette. I think they're better than Gonzaga, better than Tennessee, and on down the line. And I think the rest of the season will bear that out. This was a Final Four type opponent. I think Purdue caught a little bit of a break in the sense that you basically had a de facto home game here, while there were X number of Arizona fans here and enough leftover Ball State people wearing red to make it look like there were more. This was an unbelievable environment and just a great crowd, a great Purdue crowd for them. And that's the difference between this being a real NCAA tournament type atmosphere. The opponent, the style of play was an NCAA tournament atmosphere. The atmosphere wasn't really all that neutral. Nevertheless, just a great win for Purdue, a great resume for Purdue. With this win, barring a loss to Eastern Kentucky or Jacksonville, Purdue will run the table for the third straight year in non-conference play. And keep in mind how Purdue is scheduled. They have not scheduled cupcake factories. They have scheduled resume non-conference schedules. They have really pushed themselves. They have really tested themselves, banking on the fact that sort of experience early in the season makes you better. That, and obviously wanting to sweet talk the net rankings, which they've done very successfully here the last couple of years. Won't be able to quite as well this year because the Big Ten is not what the Big Ten usually is. But this, you can't ask for much more from Purdue's resume. They beat everybody they played, and this was the greatest non-conference schedule in school history. I think the last point to make here is obviously, Purdue winning all its non-conference games, winning the Maui Invitational, beating the number one team in the country for the first time since 2000. That's great for Purdue in the moment. This is not a destination. nor was it the last 2 years. This is not what Purdue necessarily aspires to. Purdue, first things first now, you want to repeat as Big Ten champions, but then you obviously want to validate all of this early season success with late season success, and you want to parlay these experiences and these successes into the NCAA tournament here in a couple months. That's obviously the story of Purdue's season. If it wasn't, this would be quite a story to tell at this point. Purdue might be number one again come Monday. Obviously, Kansas got Assembly Hall today for about 35 minutes before they managed to steal that one at the end. But it'll be Kansas or Purdue. If I'm Purdue, no thanks. I don't want to be number one because it's been kind of an albatross for Purdue in terms of their immediate results after being number one. And I don't think Eastern Kentucky's up to the job. I don't think Jacksonville's up to the job, but you don't want to tempt fate here and have history repeat itself in that regard. I'm kind of kidding. I don't think it's ever a bad thing to be number one in the country. I'm just saying it's not been something Purdue's necessarily worn well. But at some point in time, there's demons that Purdue has to slay. Demons they have to exercise, dragons they have to slay. I got my monsters mixed up there for a second. Maybe becoming number one and holding on to it for a while is one of those dragons and or demons. I don't know, but maybe we find out on Monday if enough people vote them number one. But just a great win for Purdue, a great non-conference season for Purdue, a really memorable one. Purdue has hit the ground running. They have gotten even more from Ross-Ade, as improbable as that might have sounded. I think Arizona did about as good a job on him as you possibly could have done in this game, and he still ends up with his 22 points, what has to be a career-high 5 assists, only 9 rebounds. Again, just like the last game, both of these teams opted out of the missing shots portion of basketball, so there weren't a whole lot of rebounds to go around. So that's 2 straight games for Ross-Ade where he does not get double-digit rebounds simply because there were not rebounds to get. It would be like hungry hippos without marbles. It's just a bunch of hippos. Anyway, that's what I got from wherever I am in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I believe this is the club area. Thank you for watching. Thank you for reading. Thank you for listening. And thank you for not dropping cutlery all over the floor during my video. And thank you for processing our materials, however it is you process our materials. And I'll talk to you guys again whenever the hell Purdue plays next. I don't know when that is. I might be doing these from home. I'm not sure if I'm going to go to these next 2 games, but I'll be somewhere, and you'll hear from me. So thanks a lot, everybody. Bye. Oh, and thank you once again to the Purdue Club Hotel. Forgot to shout them out at the back end of this, so I'm adding a little 5-second video onto the end of the long, obnoxious video. So thanks, everybody.